Wes from New Frame here. Did you know you have a medicine cabinet inside your brain? Well, you do. You see, we have these little things called neurotransmitters inside our nervous system that greatly influence how we move, think, and how we feel. The reason we call them your internal medicine cabinet is because they significantly impact your pain. And we have a lot of these little guys floating around. In fact, scientists have discovered well over 200 of these different neurotransmitters to date. But how do they work? Now, you may have heard of neurotransmitters before, but if you're like most, you may not be exactly sure how they work. Essentially, neurotransmitters are how your nerves talk to each other. Because this might sound surprising, but your nerves don't actually touch. There's a tiny little space in between your nerves called the synaptic cleft. And what happens is the neurotransmitters get shot into the synaptic cleft from one nerve and then stick onto the other nerve. And this is how we end up sending signals between nerves and how we start sending signals up to our brain and down from our brain. Now you might be asking, why do they even work this way? Why don't we just have one big nerve? Well, the answer lies within the nervous system. The nervous system likes to have different stopping points. And what we mean by that is places along that chain that can be changed if needed. The neurotransmitters act as a way the brain can help modulate that message a little bit and either increase the intensity of the message or completely stop it in its tracks or decrease the intensity of the message as well. Neurotransmitters can either be excitatory or inhibitory. And the cool thing is, by releasing more inhibitory messages, it will stop the message from being sent. But if it wants to increase the amount of messages it gets, or wants that message to be a little bit more intense, it will release more excitatory neurotransmitters and a stronger message gets through. Now, like we said before, there's literally hundreds of neurotransmitters. However, there's a big four that we're going to go over today. The first two are what I like to call a couple of devils, as they help increase pain, and they are called substance P and glutamate. The others are the angels of the group, and they work to help decrease your pain. We like to call these ones endorphins and dopamine. But let's go over the devils first. The first one is what we call substance P. We're going to cover substance P because it can be a bit of a devil, as it is the primary sender of danger signals going up to the brain. So when you hit your elbow on that counter, this will be the primary neurotransmitter doing most of the talking in your nerves as that message is being sent up. So as you can imagine, this neurotransmitter takes its biggest impact throughout the body, and less so throughout the brain. It's specifically designed to excite the nerves leading up to the brain, most notably when things would often cause pain. So all in all, this is a neurotransmitter we generally don't like. The second one is glutamate. Now, glutamate is primarily an excitatory neurotransmitter that plays a major part in pain activation. In contrast to substance P, glutamate specifically takes a major role in the brain. So when the brain decides it needs some protection and produces pain, this is one of the major neurotransmitters helping to send that signal. This neurotransmitter excites all the nerves along the particular pain pathway, and like substance P, is a neurotransmitter we don't necessarily like all the time. Okay, that's enough of the devils. Let's get into the good ones. Next up, we have the ones we've all been waiting for, the feel-good neurotransmitters. And first off, we have dopamine, which is a transmitter responsible for pleasure, wants, and desires. Dopamine helps run the reward system in our brain, and as a general rule of thumb, the more dopamine we have flowing around our brain, the more pleasure that we'll feel. Dopamine does have a dark side, however. It's the neurotransmitter utilized with abuse of hard drugs like cocaine, methamphetamine, and LSD. But this doesn't mean dopamine is a bad guy. It's just the innocent bystander that these drugs use to help give such a euphoric state. And pretty much, hard drugs help you release an unnatural amount of these neurotransmitters all at once. So this forces you into a state in which might not have not so great effects. However, when your body naturally produces dopamine, it can lead to a lot of extra benefits, such as less pain and greater overall pleasure. Overall, dopamine is a neurotransmitter that we like. Last but not least, we have the gram poomba of the feel-good neurotransmitters, endorphins. They make you feel good, even to the point that we call them your endogenous opioids. With their chemical structures very similar to morphine, they are another one of the most natural ways to start improving your pain upon your own volition. Endorphins work both throughout the body and in the brain. Throughout the body, they work to counteract those danger message signaling provided by substance P. Like we spoke of before, substance P is directly responsible for sending those pesky danger signals up to the brain. What endorphins do is help block those messages being sent up to the brain by blocking the receptors that the substance P sticks to on the nerves. And by doing that, the message, it can't get passed along. Endorphins not only work in the body, but they also work in the brain as well. Remember our old pal glutamate that excites the nerves in the pain pathway? Well, what endorphins do is block that pesky glutamate from attaching to the nerves, which in turn allows for dopamine to take its place. Then instead of that pesky pain you may start to feel, you'll start to feel more feelings of pleasure and desire. Sounds like a pretty good trade-off to us. In addition to all this, they also bind to opioid receptors, which themselves help further decrease pain. Next, we want to go over how you can start to build up your neurotransmitters at home. The good news is that we can help grow and build our neurotransmitters at home, but how can we hack our neurotransmitters to help us start feeling better? And the main thing that we can do is work on improving the state of our entire bodily system. What this does is set the stage for our bodies to produce a greater amount of neurotransmitters and keep that production for a long period of time. But fair warning, this does not happen overnight. There are no quick fixes here. This is why one of the main mantras behind NewFrame is performing activities little by little. Small and gradual changes made every day is the truest form and way to recovery, and it's kind of how our bodies are meant to recover. But beyond that, overall, we have 4 main areas we should focus on to start improving our neurotransmitter production. These areas are general movement and exercise, diet, mindfulness, and last but not least, sleep. All these categories have specific techniques that you can do at home to start making more of those good neurotransmitters. Okay, well, let's get into the first one. The first one is general exercise or movement. Have you ever heard of the runner's high? This is where, after you run for a prolonged period of time, your body starts to release endorphins to help improve your body's system. The only difficulty behind runner's high is that many people in chronic pain don't necessarily run. Not to say running is out of the question, but oftentimes when it comes to movement, many people have difficulty with walking, so running might be completely out of the cards. But the good news is you don't necessarily need to run to gain the same beneficial effects. Walking, general exercise, and just purposeful movements like yoga or tai chi can help your body release and produce endorphins. This is why often after exercise, you will generally feel better for a period of time. Now, there are no magical exercises out there that release more endorphins than another. Actually, if you hear someone tell you otherwise, you should probably run the other way. Instead, looking for a magical exercise, consider trying to move just a little bit every day. This can be a way you start to build up that habit of movement and can start using neurotransmitters to your advantage. If you need a few recommendations, be sure to check out our midweek mobility section on Instagram that releases every Wednesday. The second category is diet. Since we are what we eat, diet can have a profound impact on our neurotransmitters and our nervous system as a whole. Generally speaking, here at New Frame, we take the approach of eating more vegetables, fruits, and whole foods. The better your body is going to work. The reason for this is because vegetables, fruits, and whole foods have most of the necessary vitamins and minerals to keep your body working in tip-top shape. In addition, most neurotransmitters are produced in the gut, so what you eat has to play a vital role into the nervous system and making neurotransmitters. Which, if you think about it, this makes sense since your body can only build its necessary structures based on what you put into it. In terms of this subject, you can think of vitamins and minerals as accelerators and building blocks that help make up neurotransmitters. And although by eating servings of fruit and vegetables throughout your day would almost certainly guarantee that you would digest the necessary amount of vitamins and minerals, there are specific recommendations that we can give you that can help build up your neurotransmitters. For example, scientists have found that many of the B vitamins like B12, B9, and B6 provide a lot of the necessary material for the production of endorphins, dopamine, and serotonin. They also found that when people have lower amounts of these B vitamins, that there's a higher likelihood of depression, general confusion, and irritability. An example of a mineral that plays a vital role in neurotransmitter production is magnesium. Magnesium helps accelerate many of the biochemical reactions of our nervous system, but specifically it helps with the production of neurotransmitters. Now that I mention this, it doesn't mean you should go out to the supermarket and grab a bunch of magnesium and vitamin B supplements. Your body absorbs actually a greater number of these vitamins or minerals through the food we eat versus when it's presented in pill form. Also, supplements are generally unregulated and can potentially be dangerous. So be sure to reach out to your doctor and consider working with a nutritionist who will be able to tailor a program just for you. As for some food recommendations, beans, legumes, and leafy greens both have B vitamins and magnesium. However, if you're specifically looking for more B12 vitamin, whole grains and animal foods like salmon, eggs, and liver, and clams can all be high in vitamin B12. But again, please be sure to consult your doctor before significantly changing your diet. It's always good to consult the professionals. The third technique we can use is mindfulness, and specifically the practice of meditation. Meditation seems like one of those things that act as like a catch-all cure, and I think we've all heard it before. Oh, do you have pain here? Try meditation. Oh, you have this illness? Try meditation. Are you having financial trouble? Well, have you tried meditation? It's wicked annoying to hear all the time. But when it comes to improving our nervous system, meditation actually has some decent research behind it. Some studies performed show that there are physical enlargement changes that happen in the brain that help control the areas of concentration and memory. Not only that, meditation also helps shrink a part of the brain called the amygdala. The amygdala is the structure responsible for stress, fear, and anxiety. In addition to those negative feelings, the amygdala is a common area of the pain pathway in the brain. So we say the smaller, the better. Above all else, meditation helps spark the creation of various neurotransmitters, many of which help fight the creation of pain, such as serotonin, dopamine, and those endorphins. Meditation is the epitome of something that is simple, but not necessarily easy to do. I'll quickly go over a few ways that you can start meditating at home. So in this step-by-step process, the first thing you need to do is get into a comfortable position. Most people like to sit, but you can also lie down if that's more comfortable. Second, you need to set a timer for a short period of time to begin with. We recommend 2 minutes to start. And then you close your eyes and just try to control your concentration on one thing. Many people choose to pay attention to their breath, but you can also focus on the top of your head or even just a single thought produced over and over again. Finally, when your mind starts to wander during meditation, try to return it to the one thing you're focusing on. Returning to the one thing that you're focusing on is actually the most important part, so try not to get too frustrated when your mind starts to drift. It just means it's working. And fair warning here, meditation is very frustrating when you first begin. But stick with it. It can have such a significantly positive impact on your life and your pain. Okay, our final recommendation is maximizing your sleep. And we'll keep this one quick. Sleep is something we all do, some better than others, but it's one of the most important aspects of our lives that control our health. When you sleep, your brain becomes flooded with cerebrospinal fluid, which helps provide nourishment to your nerves and allows them to heal and grow. The trouble is, chronic illness and pain can negatively impact your sleep, and getting better sleep isn't always as easy as a snap of the fingers. However, there's a lot you can do to positively impact your sleep. So much, in fact, we made a bunch of tips and tricks that we release every week. To discover some of these techniques, be sure to check out our Instagram or Facebook. So in this video, we went over how neurotransmitters can be thought of as the medicine cabinet inside the brain, how they affect our pain, and what you can do at home to help your body work better at making more neurotransmitters. If you have any questions, be sure to leave a comment below and start following the page. But that's all for now. Until next time, take care.